I invite the community to please take your seats. Good evening. As the invitation reads, an investiture is the formal installation of a person being given an official title. And indeed, these are all very formal, impersonal, and maybe even stiff terms for what we are doing this evening, especially given the personality and the style of Millbrook's 7th headmaster, Mr. John Downs. He has already shown us in his announcements and stories in assemblies and in the personal encounters that many of you have had with him that he is passionate, creative, ridiculously funny, seriously smart, and in love with his school. So I'll blame myself for insisting that we have a ceremony to mark the inauguration of his leadership as headmaster. As Mr. Downs mentioned in assembly on Monday, there hasn't been one of these in 31 years. And only a handful of us, faculty, staff, and board members were there for it. It was a significant moment then in Millbrook history as it is now. In attendance then were representatives of past history, including the founding headmaster, Mr. Edward Pulling, and the constitution of the school community at the time, which was half this size, with the theme of looking with hope and expectation to the future. But 31 years ago, the investiture of Mr. Casertano was an opportunity for the school to get to know this yet-to-be-discovered extraordinary person because he was new to Millbrook. It was a time to officially recognize him as the head, the one in charge. Now, many of us don't need to get to know Mr. Downs. He's not new to this community, and we don't need to quite so formally recognize his leadership. And I understand that our folks new to the school wouldn't know this. He has been leading us in many ways for several years. So what we're doing here this evening is celebrating and expressing our confidence and, speaking for myself, a good dose of joy in Mr. John Downs' succession to headship. He is, in and of himself, an expression of Millbrook's past, present, and future. The past as a member of the great class of 1998, and with his wife, Erin, and children, Atticus, Aurora, and Finley, it's present, and now together, it's future. Mr. Downs, you are truly known and needed here. With this context in mind, and with your hearts and minds ready, we begin this celebration in prayer. Calling upon the divine spirit and wisdom in and around us, we look first to our predecessors, the leaders, teachers, families, and neighbors who have walked and loved and faithfully tended this school community. Be present with us now, that we may carry on the legacy bequeathed us. We look next to ourselves, to each other, all with whom we live and work to make this community ours, and as we share this moment of change and transformation. Help us continually to be open to channel our collective will and wisdom to fulfill our mission to serve the common good. Lastly, we look to our future, not just the coming months and years, riding this wave of exciting change and new leadership, but also we look to those souls who have yet to join us. For their sakes, too, do we ask for help in being faithful and true to the tasks at hand, so that there will be for them, as there was for our predecessors and is for us now, the dynamic, self-giving community so rich with possibilities that is Millbrook School. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Hardy. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the official appointment of Mr. Downs as our school's 7th headmaster. To begin the program, we would like to welcome Mr. Skold to share a piece he has written for us tonight.
Mr. Skold has worked as a custodian and member of the maintenance team at Millbrook for 28 years. When Mr. Skold is not taking care of our campus, he can often be found making music. He's an American bluegrass musician and world-class banjo player who has performed at Carnegie Hall. And although Carnegie Hall is impressive, Julia and I have come to the consensus that performing at the investiture of 7th Headmaster Mr. John Downs is far more impressive. Please welcome Mr. Skold on the banjo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just a brief word about the tune. The first section reflects our 5 core values. You might hear a sprinkle of English-style banjo, England being Mr. Pulling's native homeland. The second section represents Millbrook now as well as into the future under the awesome leadership of Mr. Downs, a place where all things are possible and dreams really do come true.
Mr. McKinley spent 8 years in school with Mr. Downs. They were both members of the class of 1998 at Millbrook and the class of 2002 at Middlebury College. Mr. McKinley returned to work at Millbrook from 2005 to 2013, where he worked as an English teacher, coached basketball, was the director of diversity, and lived in Prum Hall. He then left Millbrook to complete a master's degree in independent school leadership from Columbia's Klingenstein program and to work at Princeton Day School, where he is currently the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Good evening. The Tables Turn by William Wordsworth. Up, my friend, and quit your books, or surely you'll grow double. Up, my friend, and clear your looks. Why all this toil and trouble? The sun above the mountain's head, a freshening lustre mellow. Through all the long green fields has spread his first sweet evening yellow. Books, 'tis a dull and endless strife. Come, hear the woodland linnet. How sweet his music, on my life, there's more of wisdom in it. And hark, how blithe the throstle sings. He too is no mean preacher. Come forth into the light of things. Let nature be your teacher. She has a world of ready wealth, our minds and hearts to bless. Spontaneous wisdom breathed by health, truth breathed by cheerfulness. One impulse from a vernal wood may teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good, than all the sages can. Sweet is the lore which nature brings. Our meddling intellect misshapes the beauteous forms of things we murder to dissect. Enough of science and of art. Close up those barren leaves. Come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives. Thank you.
This man needs no introduction. He was Millbrook's headmaster for 31 whole years and has come out of retirement tonight. Please welcome Mr. Casertano.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you all for that warm welcome back. And I'm delighted to be back on campus and to see so many familiar faces, some members of the Downs family and some members of the class of 1998. And it's a pleasure to meet so many of you, at a distance, of course, who are just beginning as members of this remarkable school community. Most of all, I'm honored to play a role in the investiture of John Downs as Millbrook's 7th headmaster. But, the question is, what does a headmaster actually do? Or to put it more precisely, what will that headmaster do? Having occupied that beautiful office in the schoolhouse for some time, and having known Mr. Downs since he was 14, I feel somewhat qualified to answer my query. First and foremost, he will care. He will care deeply and broadly and across time. Faculty and staff, he will care about you and your families. In a community where every student is known and needed, he will care about you, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th formers. He will care about the community as a whole, the health of the culture and the mood and morale of the campus. He will care about Millbrook today, about Millbrook next year, about Millbrook at its centennial in 2031 and beyond. Second, he'll demand the best of himself and of all members of the community. He will demand that individually and collectively, you engage in the simultaneous pursuit of the best self and the common good. He'll demand that you stretch and grow, even when you don't think you can. He will demand that you live non sibi sed cunctus and practice respect, integrity, stewardship, service, and curiosity, so they become lifelong habits. And make no mistake, he will demand all this and more of himself. Third, yes, Ms. Havard, there are three. He will inspire. He will ask you to look up, to look around, to look beyond. He'll inspire you to find joy, meaning, and gratitude in the beauty of our campus setting, in the elegant interplay of form and function of our buildings, in the talents of your teachers as they practice their craft and calling, and in the daily efforts of administrators and staff as they create a community that is safe, attractive, and well-run. He'll do more, of course, all with Aaron and Atticus, Aurora and Finley around him, sharing their love and inspiration. But that's enough for now. Caring, demanding, inspiring are what matters today as we stand on what Chaplain Hardy calls the edge of possibility. They will matter most throughout what will surely be a long, successful, and satisfying tenure as Millbrook's headmaster. Godspeed.
Mr. Bill Menard is a graduate of Millbrook School's class of 1978, as well as a parent of 3 Millbrook graduates. He has been a member of Millbrook's Board of Trustees for 28 years and has served as chairman of the board for 10 years. Mr. Menard is one of 2 Millbrook graduates to have graduated from Millbrook as summa cum laude and awarded our Community Service Cup, so a man of many talents. As we celebrate our core value of service this year, we are especially pleased to have a moment with you, Mr. Menard.
A board of trustees of a school, like the board of directors of a for-profit company, is responsible for governing the institution effectively and for ensuring its continued strength, growth, and ability to prosper into the future. The members are called trustees because they manage the school and hold it in trust for the benefit not just of current students, but importantly for future generations. To carry out its duties effectively, good boards define the mission or purpose of the school, the what and the why. And they organize all the school's operations to further or carry out that mission, the how. Good boards are keepers of the mission and ensure that all of the men and women that work for the school and all of the families that entrust their children to it and who support it with their time, talent, and treasure, the who, share that vision, share that mission. It's said that the most important single act of a school's board of trustees makes is the selection of a headmaster, for he or she is the single person who reports directly to the board and through whom the school's mission is advanced every day. Until today, in our school's history, the board has exercised this power just 6 times. We gather here tonight to do so for the 7th. But boards, or at least good boards, do not simply select a new headmaster every 3 or 7 or even 31 years and walk away, leaving him to act on his or her own to manage the school. Yes, it's true that the single most important job of the board is to select the headmaster, but once the headmaster is chosen, the real work begins. That work is the creation and sustaining of a partnership, a true partnership between board and head. The board sets the course and the head sails the ship, trimming the sails, turning the rudder, always seeking favorable winds, calm seas, and the best route to the destination. Like any good captain, constant, clear, honest communication with both his or her commanding officers and his or her crew is essential. The wind is not always strong, the sea is not always calm, and sometimes the destination cannot be seen. So selecting the right captain and establishing trust and partnership are essential to carrying out a successful journey. You have to go all the way back to 1990 to arrive at the date when the school's Board of Trustees last selected a new headmaster, Mr. Casertano, from who you just heard. None of the current trustees, save Mr. Collins, was a member of the board when that decision was made, but we know that they took a risk on a young, untested, but highly promising candidate, and they clearly got the decision right. As someone who worked as a trustee with Mr. Casertano for 28 years, I can attest to the importance of pairing a headmaster with a board of trustees that envisions the same future together, that devote their entire being to achieving that mission together, that communicate honestly, openly, frankly, and directly together, that share in successes together and mourn their losses together. And that does all of this while having fun together. Mr. Casertano was just that man. So thank you, Mr. Casertano, for your leadership and your partnership for 31 years. And even more, thank you for your friendship. When Mr. Casertano came to me several years ago to start a conversation about stepping down, my trustee colleagues knew that our selection of his successor would be crucial to the school's future. How to build on the growth and momentum of the Casertano years while retaining the things that answer the question, what makes Millbrook Millbrook? In this task, we were guided by our shared belief in Millbrook's mission, which begins, I think as you all know, in a community where everyone is known and needed. We've known John Downs well, having worked shoulder to shoulder with him for a dozen years as Director of Admissions, Assistant Headmaster for Institutional Advancement, and Acting Headmaster during Drew's sabbatical. And last year, perhaps the most challenging in the school's history, as we sought to deliver the most authentic Millbrook experience possible during a global pandemic, John demonstrated the leadership skills, vision, and commitment to mission that we knew he would when we selected him to be Millbrook's 7th headmaster. Working hand in hand with Drew and the board, the two leaders executed and delivered an incredible school year while transitioning leadership from one devoted Millbrook servant to another. During our headmaster search process, one of my trustee colleagues said about John, when you're a mission-driven institution and you have a candidate that so completely embodies and lives that mission and its values, why would you look anywhere else? When you're a mission-driven institution and you have a candidate that so completely embodies and lives that mission and its values, why would you look anywhere else? John Downs, like me, an alumnus of the school, and like me, profoundly shaped by it, indeed lives our values and lives for our mission. He has proven that to us every day of the dozen years he has served at the school prior to becoming headmaster, and every single day since. You see it in everything John does, from raising his lovely children to having the wisdom to ask Erin to marry him, and exemplifying the type of partnership that with her that we hope to emulate as his board colleagues. John's values and his unwavering commitment to the school's mission are why we are confident that under John's leadership, this school will continue and accelerate its pursuit of excellence. In discussing John's candidacy with Drew several years ago, Drew summed it up to me this way. He said, "Bill, I'm a headmaster and a man of the 20th century. John would be a headmaster for the 21st century." Well, we're well along our journey into the 21st century, and we've already faced down many of its challenges: terrorist attacks, economic downturns, political division, and a global pandemic. But we also have seen its possibilities, a desire to return not to normal, but to a new, better normal, a striving for greater justice and equity, and a challenge to live our individual lives with respect and acceptance of others' differences. There's a crucial role for Millbrook in meeting the challenges of the 21st century, and we're fortunate to have John lead us on that journey. So I look forward with great excitement and much optimism to working with my fellow alum to lead the school that we love, the school that all of you love and support, to lead the school forward in realizing its special destiny. And so, on behalf of the Millbrook School Board of Trustees, it is my great pleasure and distinct honor to present to you, to the entire Millbrook school community, Millbrook's 7th Headmaster, John Downs.
Mr. Menard whispered to me just before he stepped on the stage, I hope we don't have to do this again anytime soon, which I think was a supportive comment. I'm really grateful to all of you for sharing this moment with me. On the day the Casertanos drove off campus, Linda Casertano said to me, "You are really lucky to have Jennifer Costello." Linda regularly reminds me of things that I already know. Jennifer, thank you for being an extraordinary executive assistant and for helping design this day. Reverend Hardy, thank you for pushing me to do this. Despite my occasional irreverence, I am not an iconoclast. I do hold ceremony and community building traditions near and dear to my heart. You are the human centrifuge of spiritual life on this campus, and we are blessed to have you. Prefects, thank you for the energy and creativity you have brought and will bring through this year. Your devotion to this school and its culture is an inspiration to me. Busy, thanks for being back with us. We have a strong tradition of excellent vocalists at Millbrook, and we cannot wait to hear you represent it. Andy Skold, when I first heard you play banjo, I was a third form boy in prom. And I couldn't wait to tell my mother how talented everybody is here. You are the personification of one of life's great lessons. The cover is not the book. Thank you for that special piece. Tony, 8 years of Millbrook and Middlebury together, as well as a few on the faculty. From boys to men, my friend. I'm so proud of you, and despite the belief to the contrary, we kids can grow. Mr. Casertano, it's great to have you back. As Flo Rida professes, this is your house. It's a weighty responsibility to dance with your shadow and to keep care of Millbrook in the next chapter of its history. And as my mentor and friend, I will remind you that if I do not make you proud, you only have yourself to blame. Mr. Menard and fellow trustees, thank you for your generosity, your time, your wisdom, and your support, and for believing in this fit, Millbrook and me. May you always feel this way about the former and the latter. Atticus, Aurora, Finley, which school is the best school? Tell me that one more time. You're darn skippy it is. You got it right. Students, I wish so much for your future. While the pursuit of meaning and fulfillment are top of mind, I also wish that you find someone with whom you may share your journey with. I knew it. I could get this. And that you respect and love them as much as I do Mrs. Downs. Aaron, you know it's been a dream of mine to always be the head of Millbrook, and you are beyond the definitions of dreams. You're well beyond any partner I could have ever imagined. Thank you, I love you. All right, enough of that. In August of 1994, my father drove me down School Road for the first time. Somewhere between the marsh and Pulling Circle, I changed from a t-shirt and shorts into an oversized button-down and khakis. And I was interviewed by Andy Benson. I walked campus with Bob Howe, and I met a 37-year-old headmaster with a tight tuck, flow that wouldn't quit, and a certainty in his hazel green eyes that Millbrook could be the best boarding school in the United States of America. And when I drove away, I had a massive pit in my throat. I did not fear denial. I feared acceptance. I was scared that if I were admitted, I could not say no. Or worse, if I were admitted and I didn't receive financial aid, and my parents were burdened by this opportunity that they could not provide. Or what if I were admitted and awarded aid, and I couldn't find the courage to leave the love of my family to blaze this trail? While my family has experienced its fair share of adversity and hardships, the one constant, stabilizing force of confidence I've always had is an unwavering sense of loyalty and love. If my family's anything, it's love rich. So I knew it would be painfully counterintuitive to leave home sooner than I ever imagined. When I received the call that I was accepted with generous financial assistance, I swallowed that pit in my throat and in complete ignorance leapt down School Road, knowing very little about Millbrook or any boarding school for that matter. That leap of ignorance is among the best decisions I ever made in my life. I made the most of my time as a student. I have zero regrets. I was lucky enough to graduate knowing exactly what I want to do. I wanted to teach and coach and soak up the systems of schools so that maybe one day I could be a great teacher. And maybe I could even be a headmaster. I wanted to be like the Zeisers, and I wanted to make an impact like my advisor, Dr. T. And as I navigated the world as an educator and a young man, I would often ask myself, what would Drew do? While I have tremendous pride for every school I've ever attended or have ever been employed pre and post my days as a student at Millbrook, I've never been able to resist the temptation to compare all other schools to this school, the place that taught me to love to learn, to wrestle with irony, to critique and question, to keep my mind open, and to be unafraid to ask for help. So when Mr. Casertano called in 2010 to see if Aaron might consider teaching English, and if I might like to apply for the Director of Admissions opening, it felt serendipitous and the right time to return. So for the past 11 years, Aaron and I have raised our 3 children here, and we've given all that we can to professionally contribute to Millbrook's mission, pursuits, and progress. Now, as we begin this new chapter with all of you, I have a confession and a secret I want to share with you. I say before 400 people while we're streaming on the World Wide Web. There are times when I cannot believe the trustees have offered me this job. They have access to just about every detail of my life since I was 14. Strong and struggling academic records, a few minor disciplinary incidents, and some of them even know the details of my dating history. My transgressions and imperfections have been on public display for a long time at Millbrook, so I suppose my appointment as the 7th head of school is a testament to the humility, humanity, heart, and growth mindset of Millbrook. Millbrook is no prep school snobatorium or bastion of elitism. We are as humble and hungry as we are privileged and proud. We are confident, not arrogant. We are stylish, not brazen, substantive, and not pretentious. Millbrook is a warm, welcoming, and intentional institution that believes in the potential of people. I want to share a few things that inspire me about Millbrook. I am inspired by our mission. In a community where every student is known and needed, Millbrook prepares its students for college and lives of meaning and consequence by instilling the values of respect, integrity, service, stewardship, and curiosity. That mission was 3 pages 30 years ago, and thanks to the talented reductionist wordsmithing wonders of Mr. Casertano, it's now 1 sentence. It's clear as clear can be. It's our promise to one another. Who we are, who we're not. And when I cited that mission to many of your grandparents on Saturday, your grandparents erupted in applause. I'm inspired by our faculty. In 1928, Mr. Poling wrote his project for a new school. And here's the preface. The first principle to be kept in mind is this, that bricks and mortar and money and even sound educational theory in building a school are no substitutes for the personalities of the teachers. That the spirit of the institution and its ultimate value will, in the last analysis, depend essentially on the quality of men and women on the faculty. He wrote that when this location was just a plot of farmland. I suspect he would be as proud of our people today as he was of his faculty in his time. We have a faculty and staff committed to a life of holistic education, determined to guide our students in the pursuit of truth and fact, to consciously seek points of view that oppose our own, to express oneself fully and accurately through a variety of mediums, to substantiate claims with convincing and relevant evidence, to practice the healthy habit of deferred judgment, and to actively participate in an intentional community that is bigger than the individual self. If you allow them to, our faculty and staff will do everything they can to help you fall, struggle, fail, and ultimately grow and succeed. We have a group of professionals who are skillfully balancing unconditional support and love with real consequences and accountability. And Millbrook students, you care to know because you know we care. I'm inspired by you, our students. I know about you. You chose Millbrook because you want to stretch beyond the definitions and labels that the world has come to give you. You chose Millbrook because you're committed to exploration and discovery, to engage in a community without a myopic point of view of whatever it is you think you're supposed to be or supposed to be doing. You chose Millbrook because you have an open mind and a desire to pursue your best self in ways that enhance the common good. I want to say that I see myself in you, but that's limited. I see the world in you and the purpose of Millbrook in you, which makes our mission all the more meaningful and fulfilling. I'm inspired by our roots. After the preface of Mr. Polling's vision for a school in 1928, he wrote that we would be conservatively progressive. That is not a political position. We are a school, and it is our responsibility and duty as educators to remain apolitical as we prepare our students to be productive citizens in a democratic society. Conservatively progressive is a pedagogical statement. It is how we think about teaching and learning in a world that sometimes feels new and radical, but when we zoom out, it's not a whole lot different from the challenges of almost any generation that's come before us. This paradox, conservatively progressive, demands that we take the best of our past and innovate for the future. It's in the DNA of the institution. Mr. Polling wrote, "We will not assume that new methods are best simply because they're different from old ones or that the fundamental nature of the human race has suddenly changed. And we will not adhere to tradition for tradition's sake. We will reject old methods for which experimentation has shown there are better substitutes. And we will keep in touch with contemporary educational developments." At the intersection of this dichotomy is where the hammer hits the anvil. It's where sparks fly as we mold and forge who we are and who we want to become. It's the very essence of what defines Millbrook, and it aligns directly with what it means to be a healthy, occasionally compliant, and occasionally rebellious teenager. The reach of a tree is directly proportional to the strength of its roots. It bodes well for Millbrook to have our philosophical integrity hardwired into the very origins of the school. And I am inspired by our reach. When I say our reach, I mean our dreams and aspirations, our vision. Let us not idle and wait for time and circumstances to shape us. Let's move boldly and strategically so that we, Millbrook, will shape our own future and fate. What the trustees declared in 1992 remains true today. We want to be the finest coeducational, ideal-sized boarding school in America. And so how do we do that? By remaining competitive, by building upon our demanding programs in academics, arts, athletics, by enhancing the beautiful buildings and spaces of this already beautiful campus, by diving deeper into the spiritual, social, emotional, and developmental stages of teenagers, and above all, by recruiting people who are committed to the ethos of this institution and the mission that guides us. Not every child who drives down School Road will have the chance or the desire to attend Millbrook, to seize the privileges and opportunities that this place provides. They won't. But when they do, and especially when there's a lump of fear in their throat for the unknown adventure that awaits them, it will be my personal pursuit and purpose, and the purpose of my colleagues, to transform that fear into a sense of belonging, into a lifetime love of learning, and to the real responsibility of embracing the experience of Millbrook that my fellow alums and I know and love. Cam Hardy, AKA the Rev, reminds us regularly that we are on the edge of possibility. And I love that, the edge of possibility, because that's where you take leaps. Thank you for this leap of faith, for providing me the opportunity to serve you, students, faculty, staff, alumni, parents, trustees, to steward the mission of the school, to continue to aspire, to leap into a future where we will not only leave it better than we found it, but perhaps, maybe, just maybe, Millbrook, we will leave it better than we've ever imagined it. So there I go, there you go, and here we go. Thank you.
To close out our celebration this evening, Mr. Downs has invited Busy Cat's class of 2021 back to Millbrook. Busy joins us tonight from Wesleyan University, where she is studying in a range of classes from music to psychology and in between. She's thrilled to be performing with the Millbrook Singers again and to be here to celebrate Mr. Downs and the entire Millbrook community.
Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, and the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh,
Thank you so much, Busy and Millbrook singers. Before we bring this celebration to a close with a prayer, I want to reiterate some thanks as well for the members of the Board of Trustees for being here, for the Downs family, for the Marsallo family for being here to join in the celebration. It's just such an honor to have you all here. So let us close in the spirit of meditation and prayer. On this edge of possibility, as we form ourselves into a new community, as we change and exchange energy and leadership, Creator God, source of our knowing, bless us. We are a gathering of our past, present, and future. We give thanks for the abundant and diverse gifts represented and exchanged in these generations. We give thanks for the compassionate, creative drive that is the unifying support of those who have chosen and still choose to lead us in these complex and potentially inspiring times. And for the great gift of kinship and friendship, of community in its finest definition, that gift which will sustain us as who we are blessed. Spirit of peace and ultimate compassion, bless the past, present, and future Millbrook generations who have and will sacrifice self-gain to lovingly serve this community. And bless John, our 7th headmaster. May he be ever known by his faithful stewardship and needed for his compassion and strength. All this we ask in the name of what is sacred and true. Amen. As we depart from this celebration and move on to formal dinner, may we remember that just as John will carry the torch of leadership for us, that we may too lead with light. You are now dismissed to formal dinner.